Hey guys, Crazy Al here, back playing FTB episode 15, and I'm going to jump right into this right off the bat and make some multi-farms. I've finally been playing around with it and got a basic understanding of it, and I'm going to show you guys how I was setting it up earlier. There might be multiple ways of doing it, but this is the way that I've been doing it. And the first thing you're going to need is a farm block. And this is the recipe for it, copper, and you can use chisel stone, or you can use a multiple different types of blocks. Like you can use a cracked stone block, you can use bricks, you can use smooth sandstone, you can use chiseled sandstone, you can use nether brick, chiseled stone brick like I have there, and you can use I think that's pretty much all you can use. You can use mossy stone too, and I guess you can use just plain, no, you can't use plain stone, but you can use plain stone bricks. So yeah, you can see here, we'll swap it out. You can see this is with the nether brick. And this is all aesthetics. It has no, it doesn't play in any way how the, farm works at all or anything. It's just all about looks. And I've got the stone chiseled one. And this is the basic thing you're going to use to create all of the other parts that you're going to need. And one of those parts is the farm valve. That's going to supply water, or it's going to be an input to supply the water to the farm. So for that, you got the farm block, you got the tin gear, and you got the glass. I'm gonna try to zip through this as fast as possible here and just show you guys how to build it. And then you're gonna need a farm gearbox, and that's where it's going to supply the energy, or again, be an input to supply the energy for the farm. So again, farm block and 3 tin gears. And then the third thing is the farm hatch, which is what would supply the supplies to the farm, like seeds, saplings, etc., or to extract what the farm is producing. And there's also another block which I'm not going to be using, which is called the farm control, and that's basically to turn, if you wanted to turn one side of the farm off and keep the other sides on, you could use that, and with a combination of redstone current to do that. And I'm not going to get into that because it's just I haven't really even played around with it, to be honest. And I don't think it's really needed for what I'm going to be setting this up for. So those are the blocks you're going to need. You're going to need a lot of these, the basic farm blocks, because that's what the main structure is built with. And then these, then you use maybe one farm gearbox and one farm valve, and one farm hatch will do. I got 2 there for some reason, but yeah, 1 will do. So yeah, let me go outside here. I'm gonna find a spot to do this. I'm probably gonna keep my current farms here and maybe make a farm back behind that dome over there, just a test farm, just to see if it works out fine. And I'll see you guys there. All right, so I've set myself up with a small area here, right next to my biomass facility, and I'm gonna set up the default farm. The default multi-farm, which is an arboretum, a managed arboretum, and that basically is going to be a tree farm, fully managed tree farm. And the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to build the actual multi-farm structure, which is kind of similar to a blast furnace, where you kind of have to build, it's not just one block, it's multiple blocks. And to start it off, I'm just going to build it straight up with the basic farm blocks here, and then I'm going to go in and put the valves and the gearbox, etc. I can't even speak, etc. So yeah, you got to go 3 by 3 by 4 high is the smallest farm you can make, and I believe that makes a farm of 11 by 11. And unlike the blast furnace, it's a solid block. There is no empty space in the middle, and that should be 4 high. So I'm just gonna, it should update. You should see a line form. There you go. So now if you kind of just right mouse click on it, you'll see an interface here. So yeah, you can see it's a managed arboretum. So it's got 4 sides, and each side is a sapling, meaning it's a tree farm. This is where the water goes if you want to put a bucket, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hook it up right to some water, and this thing's going to fill up. And then this is where the fertilizer goes. I believe this side is where the dirt would go. And then this side here would be where the saplings would go. And then over here is kind of what the farm produces, which will produce sand, which as waste, and will also produce wood, apple, etc., etc. And the saplings that it produces will automatically be inserted into this spot here. So let's set up the valves. We'll go underneath here, kind of set up all the other blocks. So as you can see, I already have a water source here with the aqueous accumulator in a 2x2 water source. And I got it right dunked in there, and it's just going right up here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a valve right here. So I'm just gonna break that block right there and find my valve block, which is this one. And I'm just gonna stick it right here, and it should connect and should start seeing some water coming in slowly. So that's a good sign. And another thing is, I'm just gonna break this here, is I'm gonna have to put a spot where I'm going to actually, you know, extract the items that it produces, and that's going to be this thing here, the farm hatch. And I got two of them, but I'm just going to use one for now. You could use one on the top. You could use these anywhere on the structure. You could pick your spot. I pick it here. I found out that it's better to put it at the bottom to extract the items that it produces. I was having a little trouble when it was on the side. It wasn't really taking the items out, so I decided to put that on the bottom. I guess if you wanted to put items inside of the farm, maybe put it at the top or on the side or something. But yeah, that's how I'm going to set it up. And I will just put a chest here somewhere. Maybe just put one pipe. Is this waterproof? No, this is a regular pipe. So I'll just take a regular Buildcraft stone pipe, and I'll just put it like that, and I'll just slap the chest right there, and that will, you know, kind of throw things into that chest. And then the next thing I'm going to need is I'm going to need to power this thing. So that's where the farm gearbox comes into play. So I'll just break another spot. We'll do it right here. Slap that in there. And I'm going to use, do I have them on me? I'm going to use the redstone energy conduits hooked up to some electric engines. That's how I'm going to supply the energy for this thing. So I'm just going to hopefully I got enough. I should, oh, I'm gonna have to break that 1 second. I should have enough of these. Actually, what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm just gonna set this up here real quick, this part, and then restart the recording. See you in a second. All right, so I've set up the power source, and I wanted to do that off camera just to try to cram everything into this episode as much as I can. So what I'm going with here is just, you could use multiple, you could do multiple ways of powering this with MJ any way you want. I'm just, for tutorial purposes, using the MFE here. And I'm just gonna put in an advanced lap pack in there as a power source, just to fill it up with power so I can get this farm going. And that's pretty much how you're gonna set it up as the, like I said, the tree farm. And I'll show you guys here at the top. What you're gonna have to do is, well, first thing you're gonna have to do is lay down some torches here so you can actually see what I'm doing, because it's now nighttime. And yes, I turned the mobs off just for this because I gotta, I don't wanna get killed while I'm explaining this. So yeah, this part right here, you gotta make sure you use one of these items here, either cracked sand, cracked stone brick, sorry, I don't know why you would use that, regular bricks, smooth sandstone, chiseled sandstone, nether brick, chiseled stone, stone brick, mossy stone, etc., etc. So you just got to make sure you use one of the structures that one of the blocks that you use to actually build one of these basic farm blocks. And it doesn't have to match. You don't have to use, because this is chisel stone, it doesn't have to be chisel stone here. It could be brick, it could be nether rack, it could be whatever, right? But you just got to make sure that the bottom part is one of those, I think, 5 blocks. So yeah, let's set this up. We'll just go in here, put the saplings over here, Just gonna fill up every slot here. And the dirt over here. And make sure you use dirt, not hummus. That's one thing I found out the hard way. I was spending like, oh, I don't know how long to try to get it to work, and it wasn't working. I couldn't figure it out. And because when you go to the wiki site, it was saying to use hummus, and then I guess they changed it. You just use regular dirt and fertilizer in this slot here. And let's power this thing up, and hopefully it works. So let's flick the levers here on our electric engines. And oh, we're probably gonna have to change that part right there because that is pointing inward. So we're gonna have to switch those to outwards. And let's take a look here. Oh, I think it's working. It's working. So let's go outside and see what's going on. There we go. It's working nicely. And you'll see it's not gonna be a perfect square. It's gonna be more of a diamond shape, which is, you know, I find that a little weird. I don't know why they don't let you, I don't know why Forestry kind of changed it into to a diamond shape, but yeah, we'll just kind of let this grow here, and I'll be right back. All right, so everything seems to be working perfectly right now. It's growing trees, it's chopping them down, and let's check out the chest, make sure it's sending everything into the chest. And it is. I got some birch wood and some sand, and the sand is the waste. When the dirt is used up, it gets converted into sand. So that's another reason you would use a hatch, is to replenish the dirt. Just take a look here. As you can see, I've used a stack and some so far. And it's chopped down some wood, so that wood should be being sent into the chest, which is good. Yeah, like I was saying, you would use the hatch maybe on the side here. You could have a chest with dirt and have it pumped into there just to kind of replenish the dirt that's being used on a tree farm. You could also put a hatch in another location. You don't just have to have one hatch. You could have a hatch over here, or maybe on the side, or you know, on the top, wherever you really want to put it. Other than that, you don't have to build it exactly like this. As you can see, it's 4 high, and one block is sticking out underneath, and then you got one block flush with the floor, and then you got 2 blocks here sticking out. So you could, you know, set it up any way you want, as long as you make sure that one of those blocks is flush with the floor. So for example, let's say we made it completely flat flush, then we would have 3 blocks here sticking out, kind of thing. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. It doesn't have to be set up at this exact depth. You can play around with it a little bit. But this is just the temp setup. This is not what I want. I want to have a true multi-farm, meaning I want to have a farm that produces more than just trees. Let's say it will produce trees and carrots, for example, on the same farm. And that's what I'm going to be setting up right now, and I'm going to set it up a lot bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and map out an area here and kind of build it up, and then I'm going to show you guys how you do that. You use a soldering iron and you make yourself a circuit board that's going to be stuck right here, and that's going to kind of modify what you want the farm to produce. That's how you modify it. Like I said earlier, by default it's set up as an arboretum, which is just going to produce trees, but obviously you set up farms for other items like carrots, potatoes, wheat, or you know, cactus like I have over there, or you know, sugarcane, etc., etc. And of course these farms are the old farms. As I had mentioned in a previous episode, this is the old forestry setup, and these farms still currently work in forestry, but on the forestry wiki they have mentioned that they might make those obsolete at some point. For now they work, and I do like them, and I have them running right now. I'm going to continue to have them running because you know, they do what I want them to do. But that setup that I'd set up there, that is the new way of farming. And yeah, so I'm going to see you guys in a second when I have the bigger version of that set up. there's my new multi-farm. This is the largest multi-farm you can make, and it is 5 by 5, 4 high, I believe, the middle part right there. And I'm growing carrots, potatoes, and wheat. And the carrots and the potatoes fall under the vegetable modification, and the wheat is a crop modification. And this is actually a little different than the previous one I'd set up, which was a managed farm. This is actually a manual farm, and the difference between managed and manual is the managed will, you know, set up the dirt for you and set up the water for you, etc., etc. And I think for crops, it's probably better to go manual. And manual, you have to set in the dirt yourself and set the water where you want it. And I had set it up as a managed at first, and it just put in too many water blocks, and I want to maximize the yield of crops. So if I'm growing, you know, vegetables, I don't want to have too many water blocks. I want to have as minimal as possible and have as many crops as possible. So that's why I went with the manual setup. And I think managed pretty much is the best for tree farms, because tree farms, you have to have that special kind of dirt, the humus or whatever that the farm produces. And you need to have that because it gets constantly, you know, you have to reset it up. Whereas a crop farm, you just have to set up the dirt kind of once. So you don't have to keep doing that. At least that's how I think it works anyways. And that's what I got going here. A managed farm that produces crops and vegetables. And I'll show you guys how you do that. You use a circuit board. If I just pull up the interface here, there's a circuit board in the middle here, and you'll see it's an intricate circuit board which has 4 slots of modifications. So I have crops, vegetables, and there's multiple things you can grow. You can grow mushrooms, I mean, you can grow trees, you can grow vegetables, and I'll put a link in the description to the Forestry Wiki where you guys can kind of check out all the different things that you can grow with the multi-farm. And to make one of these intricate circuit boards with these modifications, you use, I believe I've done this before with the electric engines, is you use the soldering iron. And as you can see, there's an electric engine setup, and there's a managed farm setup, and there's a manual farm setup. So if I wanted to set up a manual farm with modification, the exact setup that I have right here, I would use bronze electron tubes, which I believe represents the crops. So that represents the wheat farm, the bronze electron tubes, and then the iron represents the vegetables. So you would just kind of set it up like that, and that gives you, you know, the 4 modifications. Then you'd grab this intricate circuit board. You just grab one of these and you just kind of drop it right here, and that's going to produce your circuit board with those 4 modifications. Now, if you just check out the circuit boards, there's multiple circuit boards. There's obviously the basic circuit board, which has 1 modification, and the enhanced circuit board, which has 2. The refined circuit board has 3, and obviously the more expensive circuit board has the 4 modifications. And the recipe for the intricate circuit board is like this in your carpenter. You just set up your gold here and some redstone. So pretty simple, and that makes one of them. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I got it pretty much set up the same way that I had the previous one set up. I have the electric engines here powered through some redstone conduit going into that what is it called, the gearbox farm block. And if I go at the top, the thing that I got it powered with is solar panels. So it's self-sufficient. It doesn't run off any grid or anything. It just runs off 3 advanced solar panels, and that seems to be supplying enough energy to keep those 3 electric engines running. And 3 electric engines, to be honest, might be overkill. I haven't really played around with this. I'm totally new to the multi-farm, guys, so I might just be able to get away with 1. I mean, 1 might be good enough. I just set it up with 3 just because I just picked that number randomly. So, and as you can see, I got the water coming in through the top, but I don't think I'm going to need water for the manual farm setup, at least for this particular setup, because I think you only need the water for tree farms. I'm not 100% sure. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the water's already there in the middle, so, and the dirt's already there, so I don't think I need to have water going into the farm for this kind of setup. But I put it there anyways. It's kind of like a rain catcher setup. And I thought it was kind of cool having it loading through the top versus having it loading through the under part. But that's the basics, guys. I might go into more detail in later episodes. I'm pretty new to MultiFarms, but hopefully this episode kind of helped you guys a little bit on how to set it up, because I couldn't find very many episodes on MultiFarms on YouTube, which was a little disappointing. It took me a while to figure out how to do a lot of this, but now I think it's actually pretty simple to do, but there is some things that I do want to play around with. But I will, like I said, I will leave links to the Forestry wiki, which you guys should check out if you want to play around with this. And hopefully, yeah, like I said, hopefully it helps. And I think that's pretty much going to be it. This has probably been a pretty long episode. But yeah, as always, guys, thanks for watching. And I will see you guys next time. Later.